Hello, everyone. This is Andrew Berman. You are watching another Mortgage Leadership Outlook coming to you from the NMP TV studios. We're here in my basement. Anyway, we're coming to you live and direct with, this is like the greatest originator that ever was. It's so awesome to have actually the pleasure to spend time with Shant. And Shant, thank you so much for joining us. I'm sure everyone who's watching this knows actually a little bit about you, but I want to get into a little bit about. I want to go into your numbers because they're just phenomenal. Listen, one of my closest mentors, the people I look up to for many years and still look up to and count on for like guidance. I remember when he claimed it when he hit $1 billion for his career. It's just a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I think it's a really great opportunity to get on here and chat with you. I love talking about this stuff. It's fun. It's kind of a good time to reflect on everything. And, I just appreciate the opportunity. So thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to this.
And by the way, if you haven't checked out the November issue of NMP, you got a copy of, actually, I'm going to show the banner right here. So if you haven't seen it, get it right there. The latest issue, the November 2020, right there. You should be able to access it, read it. Just a lot of stuff. Some of the things we'll cover here, but there's so much that we're not actually covering that's going to be in that full article. Check it out. So I'm gonna move this in. Okay, so let's start out with your history. I want to go actually. How did you first get into the mortgage business?
Yeah, so it was truly one of those things that just happened by chance. I graduated from college in that past year, trying to figure out what I wanted to do with myself. Really had no idea. It was back in 2002, and people were, the tech industry was booming, .com thing was going on. So a lot of my friends were getting into different types of finance jobs or sales jobs, tech jobs, all that kind of stuff, and I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. At one point, I had kind of like one of those entry-level jobs, and I knew I wasn't happy with what I was doing. So I decided that I pretty much quit that job and decided that I wanted to be an attorney. And so I started applying to law school. I was studying for all that kind of stuff, taking all the courses, taking the exams, all that kind of stuff. And I literally happened to run into one of my friends, and I was working at nights, just trying to make some money. And I was at the gym during the day, and I ran into a friend, and he had just gotten into the mortgage business, and he was telling me, how much he loved it and how much success he was having. And so I asked him if he'd get me an interview because I needed to make money. And I figured in my mind, I was like, well, that sounds like something I could do, part-time and still go to school and all that kind of stuff. I got an interview at the place, and I fell in love with it. I ended up working at a retail mortgage lender that was doing some subprime lending back then, working like internet leads. And it was actually a really great place to work, really great company. Champion Mortgage. Yeah. It was, it had a great culture, great sales training, great. Like there's a lot of things that I still do today that I learned at that company, just in terms of how to, establish a value proposition and like how to just even structure your day and, work ethic and all that kind of stuff. It was a really great company. I say it was a subprime company, but it was like one of the good guys in terms of some of the stuff they were doing. And it was a lot of valuable lessons in terms of just like, nowadays, I just really learned how to work on the phone, which is so valuable now. And so there was a lot of good stuff. And that's how I started out. I was there for a short amount of time. Unfortunately, it didn't make it kind of through the, the housing crash that ensued. And, that's how I ended up kind of on the retail side of things.
But so listen, and I hope you don't mind a little stroll down memory lane, because anyone who's been in the business, probably remembers actually, this video, and these things. Hopefully, people can hear it.
Approved for a second mortgage loan should give us a call because they have a greater chance of getting approved here at Champion than any other company around. We have so many more programs we can fit them in. We'll work so much harder for an applicant to try to develop a weak application into an approved loan.
Wait for it.
We're in business to say yes as often as possible. And I think we accomplished that. When your bank says no, Champion
says yes.
Yeah, I was really fortunate to work there. I met a lot of really great people there. That Joe Loria was a great guy. really great philanthropist, donated a lot of money back to a lot of people in that New Jersey market, especially. But anyways, it was really valuable, great first place to work. And I still stay in touch with a lot of my friends that are still in the mortgage business and outside of the mortgage business at that company. So it was a great starting point.
So, Shant, what did you learn there? Like, what's something that you picked up there? Like, that was like almost like a day one thing that was kind of built into the culture. Because I've heard a lot of people talk about some great habits that they picked up, from working at Champion. Like, there's like, there have been legends that have been made from that organization. So, what are some of the things that are tactical things that you still actually use today?
Yeah. So, I mean, a couple things. One, that place really revolved around kind of always doing right by the client, so really valuing the relationship with the clients was super important. And just like really understanding, why a client wants to do business, what's important into their decision making in terms of just like building that relationship, understanding their emotional link to why they want to buy a house or why they want to refinance, putting yourself in their shoes and helping be their advisor in terms of just like analyzing their situation and giving really great strategic advice as to, why a mortgage is a part of their financial plan. Right. And then, so that was part of it, is just like really kind of getting on the same side of the table with the client and understanding what they're hoping to accomplish and helping them meet their goals and establishing what the benefits of what you can offer. I think one of the greatest things I learned was like, so back then, that's like when LendingTree and LowerMyBills.com and all these websites, like all these lead aggregators were first kind of getting going. And so what I learned early on was like, how do I really kind of set myself apart, and not just how, but like why it was so important to set yourself apart. These, we were getting, we'd be introduced to a client, and LendingTree would sell that client's lead, to 4 to 5 different banks, sometimes like I felt like 20. And then you'd really have to stand out amongst the crowd and wow with service level, wow with communication, wow with expectation setting. And it was a really valuable lesson for me, early on in my career. And it's still stuff that resonates with me now and a part of my business today, is to really just kind of how to communicate why, what value you bring to the table and how you're different than the rest of your competition.
So now, was there a point where, because listen, I mean, there are good originators, there are great originators, and then like there's the level that you're at. Was there actually a point where you made any kind of like hyper leap, going from, because listen, I mean, let's call what I believe actually, we got to put this year aside, but normal years, when you're doing 100 loans a year, you're considered to be, in the kind of like, the top level of the industry. You're not at the top, but you're the high levels. You're earning a respectable income. You're not struggling, at least at 100 loans. Where was the point actually? Was there any point where you made actually any kind of like hyper leap, going from just being a good originator, originating maybe 100, maybe 200 loans a year, to putting the kind of numbers that you put on now?
So when I was at the first company I started out with, my last year there, we had a lot of success. But we were just like, we'd probably close like something like 50 million that year, which is a great year, right? Like, and we were working really hard, but really kind of where my career, and for a lot of people, that's a really awesome year, but I wanted more. I wanted to kind of take it to the next level and be like, my goal has always been to be, the upper echelon of loan officers. So like, making, getting recognized as some of the, there's all the different lists of top 200, top 300, top 100, whatever. I wanted to make those lists. And I really made that leap my first year at Guaranteed Rate. Like this was the place that changed the game for me in terms of taking me from my first year doing about 50 million to making the move to Guaranteed Rate. Helped me kind of jump from 50 million to almost like 130 million my first year. And there's never been a time, and there was a couple of years, the first couple of years where I did 100 million, 150 million, 180 million. And then I remember we went from that, we took a big leap to 300 and then 405. And then we took the big leap from 500 million to 900. Now 1.5, 1.6 is probably where we're going to finish at from a billion standpoint. But like, so I think, but that first year, about 8 years ago, is when the game really changed in terms of where, I think if you do, in this business, for whatever reason, $100 million is kind of like the barometer for like the elite level loan officers. Right. And that's kind of when I made that leap. And I think part of it was, what I loved about this place is it allowed me to, the focus here was like just all about kind of doing two things as a loan originator was, really working on your business in terms of just doing what you're great at and focusing on all the activities that make an originator successful, like bringing in business and spending all the time talking to clients to originate loans. So that was like the big thing of like, you just originate loans and develop business relationships. And then we have a back end process that will, help get all your loans through the funnel. And that was really, really important. And then after that, it was just all about kind of like maximizing the technology, the products, really just becoming a master of your craft. And every year I kind of grew a little bit by little bit. And then about, the big leap to going from like 300 million to 400 million to 500 million was just all about like really just getting my team right and surrounding myself with, at one point, we just, the really secret to my success now is, the people I've decided to surround myself with. I have an amazing team. I think the other part of it is that, we just really work hard on the business. Like I've said this on a bunch of different calls. Like a lot of loan officers look at themselves just as like a salesperson, and that's okay. Like everybody has their own goals and what they want to do. I kind of look at myself as like as a business owner, as a CEO of my team. And so I treat it very much like a business. Like I'm focused on all facets of my business, not just how many deals can I bring in. To me, I look at it like, how's my sales doing? How's business development doing? How's marketing doing? How's operations doing? How's client retention doing? How's everything, and so we're constantly looking at different products, processes, systems that we can just kind of tweak and do more business. And like, you were saying at the beginning of this, back in the, your mentor, you were saying, was a big producer touting doing $1 billion a year. And at the time, like that was the number, right? Like that was what you could do back then. Right. And it's like now between the way technology and efficiencies and all that kind of stuff and the way you can kind of communicate with more people in more places, and it allows you to do more, I believe. So like I personally, I don't have any limiting beliefs in terms of like what I can accomplish. Like, just like I did, I did $1 billion this year, right? Like there's going to be a bunch of other producers that are going to probably end up doing $1 billion in business. I know there's one other person at guaranteed rate that's going to do it this year. So like, and across, and it's going to become more and more normal. Like, at our company, a few years ago, we had our first chairman's club where if you did $100 million, that was like elite level status. And like only 6 people made the trip that year. I think we have 100 people make the trip this year that did over $100 million. So it's just like, it's all about kind of setting big goals and accomplishing them and trying to put a plan in place to get there. But we do a lot of planning, we do a lot of forward thinking, and we try to just kind of execute. And I think anything's possible. Like I kind of look at it like, no knock on anybody else, but like, we got to $1.5 billion. I feel like we can do more. All these other companies have figured out how to do 10 billion, 15 billion, 20 billion, 50 billion. I'm just trying to do my little slice of it. So if they figure it out, I feel like we can figure it out within our platform,
That's great. That's all. So I mean, I want to talk a little bit about you talked about some of the things that you measure, and talk a little bit about either the tools that you use, to kind of measure yourself. Like how do you keep improving your process? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I mean, I think there's technology, which is really, really important, and I think there's just like, business tools that you use. So in terms of like tools, like I make sure that my team is constantly having, weekly meetings in terms of just like talking about we have our accountability measurements that we know that like, we kind of say we measure certain metrics every single week. And we have that meeting every single week around what the goal is and what the actual numbers are and the outcomes are. And if we're not hitting those goals, we're talking about why, and we're developing plans to kind of get back on track right away. So we're very consistent with our numbers, with our tracking of our numbers. We never not meet. There's always a million reasons as to why you can cancel a meeting or not follow through. And we never do that. We're making sure we're constantly working on our business. So every single week we'll have a meeting about, measuring our production, holding ourselves accountable, talking about issues, working on to-dos, working on quarterly goals. We're doing a lot of training internally, keeping up with guidelines, developing systems and trainings and and just execution and communication plans. So like those are some of the things. I mean, in terms of tools that have changed the game for me, the technology, I don't think that, with technology, I'm a big believer that like, you really have to adopt it. Like it does make things better. It makes things more efficient. I hear a lot of loan officers say, I don't want to use this, that, or like, whatever. But I think that loan officers who adopt and adapt to technology and utilize it as part of their business are going to far exceed loan officers that don't. I'm of personal belief that, I really do think it's important to make it a part of your every single day. Can you have some success without it? Yeah, I'm sure you can, but like nowhere near the level of success. Like, I'm a mobile mortgage bank, like I literally like at all times, because of the technology that I have available here, we have the digital mortgage platform, our Toto platform that allows me to essentially have every bit of data that I need to provide to a client, to a realtor, and deliver the kind of service level and execution they expect and want. Yeah. And then, collect client documents. Like, before back in the day, I used to have to like slug my laptop around everywhere, make sure there was a Wi-Fi connection, all that kind of stuff. And like, it was very cumbersome. And now it's like, as long as I got my iPhone or an iPad, like I can literally do everything in minutes.
Okay. Can you talk a little? Would you mind talk a little bit about your tech stack? Like, what are some of the things that? Listen, I know when you're at Guaranteed Rate, a lot of the stuff actually, you guys probably build a lot of your own. But what are some of the things like, do you use like for your applications? Are you sending links so borrowers can complete applications? Talk a little bit about some of the technology that you and your team uses.
Yeah. So absolutely. I mean, we use our Guaranteed Rates digital mortgage like exclusively for almost every single application. Not because like not because of like that we don't want to talk to clients. We just want to collect their data in a clear and concise way. And then what that allows me to do is it allows me to review, analyze, and get on the phone and talk to a client about what's important to them. Again, like what I was saying at the beginning, like I want to get on the phone with a client. I want to be their advisor. I want to find out what their goals are. I want to find out, I want them to put me in their shoes. I want to build a relationship. I want to understand. And then, I want to analyze. I'm able to see their credit, their income, their asset profile, right? I'm able to, in a lot of cases, I have their credit report at hand because Digital Mortgage pulled it for me. They've uploaded all their documents into our Transfer Safe portal. And so I've got tax returns, W-2s, pay stubs, asset review and verification all in front of me. So now I'm analyzing, right? I'm able to issue a pre-approval in minutes, and then I can really just dive into, setting expectations, building confidence. I'm going over, budgeting in terms of max pre-approval, comfort zone, payments, and what goes in those payments, down payments, closing costs, diving into loan products, and I can have all those conversations and cover all that information literally in like 15 minutes to a half hour in some cases. Whereas before that used to take like a half-hour meeting, and then another half-hour meeting. And it's like, we can get really, really like detailed. And I also feel like people's attention spans and their time is also more valuable too. So like, as much as like we want to get it done, they also like at some point they stop listening or they get bored. And so like, I think it's really important that you pack impactful information to your clients and say, listen, there's nothing that I like more than when I get on the phone with a client and I'm like, hey, they're like, oh, we've spoken to a couple different lenders, and I'll be like, well, who have you spoken to? And they can't remember, like they're like, oh, I don't know. And it's like, I feel like when they get off the phone with me, based on the information we're providing and the way we're doing it, like they're never going to say, I don't know. Like they might pronounce my name wrong, right? But like, I definitely remember, who we are, who we work for, and like because like we're making the conversation exciting, important, impactful, and this market's so competitive. Inventory's down, and demand is way up, and like you have to. Part of our job, it's not just about getting them the best rates and products; it's preparing them to win in this market where there's multiple offers, things are moving fast. And that's what your realtor is expecting. Like you have to put them in a position to win. And that's what I think we're doing. And our technology allows us to do that big time.
So now are you sitting down? So we have 2,900 units so far year to date. I mean, who knows where you're going to wrap up the end of this year. So 2,900 units, you had 2,900, like, are you meeting with, like, what percentage of these borrowers are you having, conversations, one-on-one conversations with?
So yeah, so it's like, I mean, we don't do a lot of meeting in person, obviously, especially this year. I mean, everything, we do a lot of Zoom calls, a lot of, those type of things, and then a lot of phone calls, obviously, texts, emails. I mean, we communicate with the client however they want to be communicated with, right? Like that's important to us. However, I have an amazing team, right? So like, I've got doing $1 billion, like we're at $1.4 billion as of tomorrow morning, right? Year to date in terms of fundings. So we're probably going to finish somewhere around like, I'd say $1.6 billion is going to be our pretty clearly that's going to be our number just based on, I already know what's closing next month, like it's already kind of set up. So, I have a staff of over 40 people that kind of support my business that are helping me, collect information from clients, prepare information, analyze the information, and just kind of have me ready. I have licensed, sales support that's also talking to my clients as well when I'm not available. Like if I'm on right now on this call for the next half hour, 45 minutes, however long it is, like my business doesn't just shut down. Like my clients are able to get and talk to somebody right away. We're at a 50%, almost 50%. We're at a 47% purchase versus refi split this year. Obviously this year has been a big refinance year. Historically, we're mostly at like a 70% purchase, 30% refi. In some cases, even higher. Like there's been a few years in the past when rates have gone up, we're at like 80 and 90% purchase and only 10% refi. So the foundation of my business has always been very purchase centric, and that's where I spend most of my time is like talking to the clients that are buying houses, because I feel like those are the most impactful conversations. With a lot of the refinances, especially with our previous clients, like it's all just about like, just putting everything on paper for them to have them see it, so we can rely on email, and a lot of our like technology will just put the proposals in front of them, and we've already built some rapport. So a lot of times, like, those conversations sometimes are minutes, seconds, or over email if somebody wants to refinance, especially if they've been, I think one of the great things about having a good reputation, rapport with clients, some of these clients are doing business with us for the fourth, fifth, or sixth time. So like we've already built that trust, that respect, and that rapport with them. So then it's just about like, just structuring and going over deals. And that doesn't take a lot of time because you don't have to kind of spend that time. You already know what they want to do and what they want to accomplish and how they like to work with you. So I spend a lot of time on the front end with the purchase side, definitely a little bit less time on the refi side, but I have some great staff that allows me to just kind of support. Like I said, clearly I'm not doing this by myself, and I could never. I have a great team. I have an amazing operations team. I have an amazing sales team. I have a really great marketing team, and I have a great business development team, and we're growing, right? Yeah. We're looking at all those places. And like, so my goal is hopefully when we're doing 2 billion or 3 billion or whatever those numbers, if we have double or triple the amount of staff that are helping me, but certainly I'm not doing this by myself. So in terms of the amount of people I'm talking to, that's like a really, really hard number to put a number on. It's a lot. It's the majority, but I don't have like a percentage that I could give you. Like, it's not something I track, but it's most of them.
Listen, yeah, that to me is phenomenal. I mean, I think, to know actually that listen, if you said it was one quarter, that would be phenomenal. So that is, so I want to talk a little bit about your activity, and I wonder if you could tell me about, today's activity, but also actually, before you had a large team. Maybe when you had actually, if you could take us back, because listen, there's a lot of people that are watching this, that maybe actually they have an assistant, maybe they have an LOA, maybe they got a processor, but they have small teams. They don't have actually the size of the team. If you can go back actually and tell us actually what your day was like, your daily activity that you were doing back then when you had just getting started and just had a little bit of assistance. And I also want to hear about, what your day is like today.
Yeah, absolutely. So, back when I first started, as a part of growth, it's all about relationships, right? So like, I definitely would come in. I've always been an early morning person. Every single year in my career, fortunately, like I've become more and more of an early morning person. I wish when I first got out of college, or maybe even while I was in college, somebody was like, hey, wake up early. Like that's like a secret to your success. Like there's not a lot of successful people that sleep in. You know what I mean? Like if you talk to, and so I'll talk to you about what my day looks like now in a bit. But back then, my goals were just kind of coming in, getting organized, and just, I would literally just try to get, just make a lot of calls, like prospecting calls to clients, any accepted offers, any pre-approvals. Like I preloaded a lot of my front end of my day with just a lot of outbound calling and appointment setting, right? And then and just having like, it was really important to me to, and it's still important to me. I like to start off my day with wins. So like it's just a good momentum builder. So like I would have like all this, as many of the sales calls, I'd book those for early as possible today. So I just got the momentum going. I'd always try to pretty much, when I first got going, I'd try to utilize my lunch hour and later at night for like business development activities. So like I'd always be trying to meet with either real estate agents, financial advisors, real estate attorneys, accountants, anybody that was a good sphere of influence for us. I would try to kind of save those for like lunch meetings, and just try to build relationships there. And then I'd come back and I'd, obviously I would just try to deal with kind of like all the issues of the day that come up, the million different issues that come up when you're a loan officer that you have to fix. So I remember early in my career, I'd always try to package everything into kind of two separate like buckets. One was like, I'd try to, put all the momentum behind just putting as many deals together, business development, that kind of activity, and just sales success together. And then I try to bucket just fixing problems and issues together as well. And just because I feel like it's hard to gain momentum if you're kind of going back and forth from each one. So I would just kind of separate those. And I'd find that doing that kind of fixing stuff would either be good late at night, like when the phone wasn't ringing, or just in small pockets. But generally speaking, from the hours of 9 to like 6 or 7 or 8, the way I worked back then was different than the way I work now, but it was just all just trying to gain momentum and just appointments, activities, and sales calls and pre-approval calls. Then I would just, at night, I was out a lot. Again, same thing, just networking events. I was a part of everything, networking groups, Rotary clubs, Chamber of Commerce. I was everywhere in terms of just like finding people that could help me grow my business and be a part of my business.
So how many hours when you were back then, how many hours were you working a week?
Oh, I mean, when I first got going, I was relentless. Like, it was, it was a lot, 60, 70 hours a week, and that's a lot of hours. People talk about working 80 hours and there's not even enough hours to work 80 hours. So like when people like, I work 80 hours a week, like I can't figure that out because like, there's just not like, but like, I was working like 60 hours, it was a lot of 12-hour days. I remember getting to the office at 8 and leaving at 8:30, there's a lot of those. And I was working weekends and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I was just doing what I had to do. Keep in mind, I started my business, like really started on the retail mortgage side of things in the middle of the housing meltdown. Like, I opened up, our office in 2008 and everybody thought we were crazy to be opening up like a retail mortgage shop in the middle of that whole thing. Like, I had people like, are you insane? Like what, I know you like this business, but like, there's a lot of other really successful businesses out there you should be trying. Like, and so I was kind of, so part of it was I really liked what I was doing at Champion. And then all of a sudden it all got, one day everything was fine. And the next day it was like company's gone. Right. And the company that had acquired Champion shut down the retail side of things and like laid off everybody. And so like, that was like a very good learning lesson for me because it taught me that everything could disappear right away. And it wasn't like there was a lot of people like hiring in the mortgage business at that point. Every company was disappearing. So I was, I knew I had to work really hard and I was kind of in that do whatever it takes mentality to just kind of have success. I was younger. I was engaged, but I wasn't married at the time to my wife. And like, I was doing what a lot of business owners that are just starting out do, like, just worked really, really hard. You can make up for a lot of mistakes, a lot of lack of knowledge, a lot of things with just effort, hard work, and hustle. And that's what, I would say we definitely did that. And, we always did the right thing by everybody. We surrounded, I did. I always knew like if I surrounded myself with really good people, both on my team, but also like on the team of referral partners, like all the referral partners that I worked with back then, I still work with now. I generally work with like really good people that like not only care about their clients, but care about working with us too. Yeah. And that was important. They respected the hard work. They respected the hustle. So that was also really cool. But yeah, I mean, look, this is like, this is a hard business. It's competitive. And, like people like, well, do you have to work really hard? Yeah, to get started and have like massive success, in anything you do, there's not a lot of people out there that didn't like really kind of grind for the first few years in any type of business. And I definitely did.
So, and how many hours are you working a week now?
Yeah, now certainly not 60 or 70. Now that I have more support, I'm pretty consistent at like a 50-hour week. I'm not working 40. I want to one day, but but
not this year.
Not this year. Yeah. I'm probably at like 50 hours a week, and I still work super hard. I'm way more efficient than I ever was. There's truly not a wasted minute of my day. Again, I have 3 kids now, so like my days start a lot earlier. A lot of times, I usually wake up every single day at 4:00 in the morning. I get a lot of stuff done. I get my workout in, I get everything done, and I get a lot of stuff done before 6 a.m. so that when my kids wake up, I'm home, I'm able to do some stuff, take them to school, and then I'm usually in the office every single day by 8:00. And I go hard until like 6:00. Like I'm talking, I usually have every half hour is always booked, and then sometimes in between there, I'm talking to 2 or 3 other people, messaging, emailing, all that kind of stuff at all times. So I mean, there's truly not like there's not a lot of time on like social media or watching TV throughout the course of the day. It's full out like go at all times, and it's not just talking to clients, talking to business partners, spending time with my team. There's just a lot of stuff that goes on throughout the course of a day, which leads to, it's fun. I mean, there's never been a day in my career where I'm looking at the clock. Like, I couldn't believe that we were already having our call today and it was already 4:00 and it's almost dark outside. Like it goes by fast and it's fun,
Yeah. So like, I mean, was there something actually in your childhood that kind of prepared you to be so structured and so organized, with your time? Because, it seems like that for you to be able to do all of that you're doing, managing the people, continuously growing. I mean, you're already actually, looking at your $2 billion year, which it's unbelievable to be able to think about that. So was there anything actually that your parents taught you, or something that you learned early on in life that kind of taught you time management or structure, anything like that?
Yeah, no, it's good. I would say, both my parents came to this country. They immigrated here in the late 70s, right? Like they both had to hustle when they got here. They both literally came here with nothing. And they had to, essentially they met and they made a family, right? And so my dad owned his own business. My mother's worked her entire life. We were definitely taught at a very young age, like, we're not entitled to anything. Everything's all about hard work, character, integrity, and relationships, right? And surrounding yourself with the right people. So, but I mean, we came, we came from a hardworking family that mattered. And, I don't take that for granted. I look at what my parents had to do is like hard. Like they came here with nothing. I can't imagine going to a new country, not really speaking the language, and like have no money and have to make a life. Like if that happened to me today, I don't know how that would work out, but so that was but in terms of me, things that I've done, I was an athlete my entire life. I was lucky to be in, we were always in sports, and as a young age, always in team sports in high school and college. And so like, I think you do learn a lot being a part of a team atmosphere. I think you learn about being prepared, about competition, about communication, about the payoff of wins and losses. So I think that probably like most of the biggest life lessons, like, I think education is important, but I think some of the best lessons I ever learned were being a part of like team sports. And I've been on some good teams and I've been on some really bad teams. And it's just kind of about like learning how to win and lose. And so like, it's funny, like, I'm not like one of those people that's like big into like the whole like everybody gets a trophy kind of culture. I think wins and losses are okay. I think having those feelings of winning and losing is important to learn, because that's how life is. Life's not easy. It's like, it's like, look at this year. Like, how do you prepare for a year like this? Like you have to have like mental toughness and grit. And so I think that helped me. Because like there's no class that like you go to a school and they teach you how to be mentally tough, right? It's like you just kind of have to learn it. I think all those things. I think it just the where I grew up, who I grew up around, my family. I think all those things and the activities I participated in have have helped. They're all kind of, you all form, different parts of your life. There's a lot of learning lessons. I've learned a lot in my career, I thought I was at the top of the world, in my career in 2007, 2008. I loved where I was working. I loved what I was doing. And then it just disappeared overnight. Like I could easily just like taken my ball and gone home, and I decided to go all in on the mortgage business, and it worked out pretty well. So I don't know. I like reading a lot, I think that, I've learned a lot. I've read a lot of great books. I love reading about successful companies and people and success stories. And I listen to a lot of podcasts about people that built businesses. There's a lot of struggles there. And it's just all about kind of getting through it. And there's a big payoff at the end. So yeah.
I want to dig into that a little bit, and because the last thing I was going to ask you about was about books.
Okay.
What are some of the books that you've read that have had a major impact on your life?
Ooh, major impact on my life. I've read a lot, so I like to read it. It helps me. I mean, I would say, in terms of some things that come to mind, some of the books. I'm like all over the place, with my reading. So here are some books that recently that I've read that will come to my mind right now. I would say a few years ago, I read The Everything Store. It was a story about Amazon. And it was, that was really impactful for me, because it was a story about how Amazon was created and kind of how they became what they went and all the struggles they had. But it just kind of showed how understanding what clients want and delivering really great service and efficiency and speed and all that kind of stuff was important. I loved, I loved Shoe Dog, the Nike story. I loved story, it was really, really cool. One of my favorite books that I read over and over and over again, there's two books by Tim Ferriss, Tools of Titans and Tribe of Mentors. And I like those because he asks really great questions. So each chapter is only 4 or 5 pages long, and he pretty much interviews all sorts of different successful people, whether they're athletes, actors, philanthropists, business people. He goes politics, everything, and he'll just ask them kind of about the stories of their lives and how they got there, and some really great advice and their wins and their losses. And so I don't read a lot of I read a lot of biographies and nonfiction, because it's real. I like it. So those are some of the books that I've read. I'm rereading Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins right now. That's pretty badass. It's a great book, just about again, it's about mental toughness and character and a story of a really, really hard story of some guy's life who's turned into a massively successful story. So, frankly, I have a lot of people in my life that I trust and I respect. And if they tell me they read a really great book that impacted them, I'm usually taking their word for it and I'm giving it a shot, because usually they're telling me about it because they think I'll take something out of it. The McDonald's story was a really great one. So I don't know. It's those are some books that come to my mind right away.
Is there any, when someone joins your team, is there any book or collection or author that you say, okay, listen, you should read this, or something actually in the interview process where if they said that they've read this book or some kind of genre of books that you're like, okay, this person, we've got a connection here?
Yeah. So I'm right now, as an example, my entire team right now is reading Raving Fans. That's a really great, it's a simple read. But everybody on the team has a copy of it literally right now as we're going through. And we've read it in the past, but it's really important to me, just about service level and again, putting yourself in the client's shoes in terms of what they want, what they expect, understanding as a professional, what they should expect and what you should be able to deliver, and then just delivering more. That's an example, everything we do, my goal, and this is a tough year because the demand is so high, both from a purchase and refi standpoint. Everybody's working from home. The systems are at max capacity across our industry, not just the mortgage companies, but the appraisals, the titles, everybody's just maxed out. And, and it's, you got a whole different level of stress going on in the world for multiple different factors. So so I thought it was important for us to kind of just bring it back to the foundation of what's really, really important and how we separate ourselves from everybody, and just delivering the best possible client experience. And just getting close to striving towards that. So that's what we're reading right now. But I don't have there's business philosophies that we have and that we have people read and all that kind of stuff. But, that's kind of what's relevant right now is like just kind of taking it back to foundational service level, communication, execution, expectation setting, and then delivery.
Fantastic, man. Well, listen, Shant, I really, really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to speak with us. We appreciate the interview that you did for the magazine.
Yeah, it was great.
Everyone, check it out. Actually, so you see it right there. There is the link to it right there. Just going to quickly show you guys the cover, so you check it out. So it's familiar. You could actually go to the homepage of National Mortgage Professional Magazine, and you'll see that cover on the right-hand side.
Well, I would say I appreciate you guys putting me on the cover. Never in my life did I think I'd be on the cover of a magazine. So you've not only it's humbling, and I appreciate it, but you've made my parents and my family very happy as well. I think my mother's probably got or my parents combined, my dad's probably got 20 copies of that magazine already.
Oh, that's so great. By the way, how old are your kids?
I have 3 girls. I have an 8-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 2-year-old. So Layla, Stella, and Thea, they're amazing. And I got my wife Kara. So that's our little family. Fantastic.
All right, Shant, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me. It was very nice of you guys to ask me to be on here.
All right, thanks. And everyone, thank you for watching another Mortgage Leadership Outlook, where we bring you the biggest and smartest and most creative and just the hardest working people in the mortgage business that are leaders that we count on to kind of help shape the future of the mortgage business. Next week, we're taking a pause for Thanksgiving, but we will back the week after. We got a couple of guests lined up for December, so stay tuned. Every Wednesday, 4 o'clock East Coast time, 1 o'clock Pacific. Stay safe, everyone, and have an awesome November.